Othering Podcast explores the world of marginalized communities with a focus on the disabled and LGBTQ+. In our discussions, we will provide a platform for our guests to advocate and share their stories. By delving deep into their difficulties and successes, we will explore the changes necessary to improve lives everywhere. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory. Step inside a world where animals walk, talk, and think just like us. This collection of 30 short stories, each starring unforgettable anthropomorphic characters, is written with one simple philosophy: everyone is welcome at the zoo.
Created for readers of all ages, these stories celebrate diversity, imagination, and the joy of seeing the world through different eyes. From clever foxes to thoughtful elephants, every tale offers humor, heart, and a fresh perspective on what it means to be human, told through the voices of the creatures we love. Whether you're looking for a quick read, a thoughtful escape, educational value, or even a modern set of bedtime stories, Welcome to the Zoo is your ticket to adventure.
Welcome to the Zoo is available now on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, Kindle, and free with Kindle Unlimited.
Welcome to the Zoo by Paul Smith.
PEP Radio, part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project, advocates for the rights of LGBTQ+ people, the disabled, and marginalized communities. We play music from all 7 continents from 1928 through 2025 in English, Spanish, German, African tribal languages, Korean, and Japanese. We also offer news, history lessons, and are proud to include the Othering podcast in our programming lineup. Tune in on the Live 365 app, Roku, and Alexa every Saturday and Sunday at 4 p.m.
Hi.
Guys.
Hi.
Okay, today we are talking to Danielle. Danielle is a podcaster, author, small business owner, storyteller, and content creator. After making tons of mistakes in life, she and her husband decided that it would make entertainment for everyone and started Marriage and Martinis, their podcast. Shortly after that, she went on to publish a book and began her journey on social media. Through all of those troubles, she has become a strong advocate for the marginalized, LGBTQ, and disabled, and fights every day for what's right. Welcome, Danielle. Thank you for coming.
That sums it up pretty well.
Thank you so much for, coming to talk with us, because, I think that you are amazing, and I love watching your videos, and you're just, I don't know how to put it, and I love hyping people up, but damn, you're amazing.
Aw, thank you, and I feel the same about you. You've always been such a strong supporter, and
thank you.
It really does help keep me going, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, because, you're just this breath of fresh air in times of just what the hell are we doing here? Mm-hmm. And, seeing your smile and, hearing that some of the things that Mike and I have gone through, especially since the Orange Cheeto has gotten into office, mm-hmm. and the fact that you have similar issues, between you and your husband and things like that, it made me feel like I wasn't alone, and that together Mike and I could, find a way through it if you could. And I want to thank you for that.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
She has a martini, and she's from Marriage and Martinis.
I do.
That was very exciting to see.
Yes. I haven't been drinking very many martinis lately because I just have been so tired and everything that I'm sort of it just makes it worse sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But these last few days have just been, my mind has been spinning, and I was like, you know what? Sitting down at podcasts, I'm gonna get a drink.
You can go on, Dory.
I think it's awesome. And you used to be an editor for 17, I think I saw, mm-hmm. which is the quintessential holy really shit cool magazine. Wow. I always feel like I'm fangirling when I get to meet these, you and various other people that I admire mm-hmm. immensely, but and I am right now, honestly. I've been in knots all day thinking, oh my God, I'm going to like screw this up. She's going to think I'm like the weirdest weirdo on earth, and just be like, wow, I am never talking to her again.
Never. And I think we all feel that way when, as podcasters, right? Like, we're making ourselves so vulnerable.
Yes.
And we have to remind ourselves that we're doing something that, less than 1% of people will ever understand what it's like to do. And it's easy to be on the other side of that and have all kinds of judgment. And, sometimes I see reviews and, sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And sometimes I'm like, I want to see you try this shit. Let's talk. It's very easy I try to remember that in life too, that like, a lot of times we're on the other side, like, well, I would have done it this way. Okay, but you've never done it, so you don't really know how you would have done it.
Yeah. Yes, that is so true. And like, I liked the fact that in your biography that you mentioned that you've made mistakes. And I just want to bring up that, holy crap, have Mike and I made mistakes.
Every day. Yeah,
every day we make mistakes. And like, it also helps seeing you keep going, because honestly, like, we made a horrible mistake recently and we felt horrible and we tried to make it right and it just messed it up. But in trying to make it right, it just kept getting worse. And it's just like, you know what? Never mind. And like, knowing that people can come back from that and still do what they set out to do. And, just kind of, I want to put that out there. Not that you made that mistake.
We're all human.
Yes. We've made some pretty big ones, and I highly doubt those were the last. But also, we've taken a lot of risks, and that's one of the things you need to think to yourself when you take risks. And also, I think a lot more people make mistakes and big mistakes. However, how many are out there actually talking about it?
True.
And exactly. So that's why it seems like a much bigger deal, because I have a lot of people in my life when I look at their relationships, or I look at their marriage, or I look at their parenting, and I think to myself sometimes like, oh, well, they have that part of it down, or, they seem to be doing really well there. But I'm never like, oh, I wish that's what I had. Because I think that the stuff that maybe I have that's important to me, they don't have. Like, I just think it's so different. And there are aspects of other people's, people who really like, friends who just are so on top of everything, right? Like, if you're my friend, I am texting you 17 times a day to find out when the party is, what time it's over, is it too late to cancel, like all the things. And then my friends they just know, they're just on top of it. Like, they just have it together. And that's a part of me that's always been like, I wish I had that. And then I try to, be like, well, I'm funny. And I'm good at bringing people together, and I try to like go through the list of, but here are the things that maybe not make up for it, but that put it kind of in balance.
Yeah.
And social media, I think, hurts that a lot, because social media, all you see is the good side, the happy side, the fun times.
That's right.
Yeah. You don't see it when they're struggling and when they're sad or sick or anything like that. I guess we do now, because we're in the disability community.
Well,
you see a lot of them being sick, but you don't see the real downside to the type of people you're talking about.
No, and I think that's a huge disservice sometimes, because you get so hung up in they're perfect and everything is perfect. Their hair is perfect, their glasses are perfect, their clothes are perfect, and here I am looking like a slob in your own head, and my own head, and it's just sometimes we tend to get a little harsher on ourselves because we see everybody else seemingly perfect. And then you're just like, well, they didn't make mistakes. Why, what is wrong with me? And so I think that with social media, it kind of exacerbates that visualization of everybody's wonderfully imperfect. And but I don't have a team of hairdressers, and I don't have a team of clothing people, and
and there's a lot of filtering going on, and There's if you ever see those videos of people who like have, the 3 layers of filters on, and then they're brave enough that they're like, this was me, and now this is me without the filters, and you're sort of like, oh, like, oh, you're beautiful, but like you look completely different.
Yes.
It's, you don't know what's real and what's not, and the lighting and it's just the way people are meant to sit. I think about when people go to take pictures now. Oh, I got to be in between 2 people, and I have to have my arm a certain way, and nothing is just natural anymore.
Yes.
And that's what I sort of miss about those days when like you didn't get to see the pictures until the roll of film was done.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
you couldn't be like, you know what, that can you delete that one? We got to start all over. It's like, all right, well, this is what you got, and if you're not going to keep it, then you're not going to have the memories. So that's it.
Right. So I want to ask you, what started your podcast? Like, what prompted you to go that route and not like get another editing job or something like that?
Well, I think for me, I've been asked this a long time, and I think the answer has changed because my realization about it all has changed. And I guess the more I've grown and experienced more and gotten more in touch with myself, the answer again has like sort of morphed, but but it's all true either way. When we started it, I had been a stay-at-home mom, and Adam was going through a really hard time, and he was just like at a really bad point. We were both at a really bad point. And we just weren't connecting, except that at night we would sit down in our like lounge and just talk. And sometimes we would laugh, sometimes we would cry, sometimes we would get angry at each other. And one night I was just like, we need to start a podcast. Like, people need to hear this, because we do say whatever is on our minds, and we do have a great banter between us. And so I thought he was going to be like, there's no way that I'm doing that. But he said yes. And we bought the equipment, and it sat on our dining room table for about 6 months. And we would just pass it and be like, oh, there's that podcast equipment, we talked about. And then one day we were just like, we have to just do it. But then I think now when I think about it, even though all of that is true, I also think that I was really desperate for something exciting and for something sort of edgy. I was a stay-at-home mom, sort of just, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I just kind of thought that's what you did when you had kids. Again, like nobody says to you, you can do whatever you want the way you want, until you're one day looking around and you're like, oh shit, I can do whatever I want the way I want.
Yeah.
And I just wasted all this time, and so I now realize that a lot of it, I think, was from me, and because I was sort of like, I can't just do this, and I can't think of any job that I want. I can't think of any job that would keep me enthralled, and and I know that there are jobs out there maybe that would, but I wasn't in a position to like, I was in the suburbs, I had 3 kids, I just wasn't in a position anymore to like go for it. So this sort of gave me the best of both worlds, that we were able to reconnect with it, even though there were plenty more times after that we had to reconnect and again and again. And it sort of gave me this excitement that I couldn't get from being a stay-at-home mom, even though I loved my kids and everything. It wasn't a whole self experience. It was just one aspect of me, and I needed more of that fulfilled. So
I love that story, because I was in a similar position. I used to work as a professor, and I am a stay-at-home mother. And sometimes you can only watch Barney's and, Paw Patrol so often before you want to like just chop your own head off. And I was craving myself like interaction with Mike as well, and we couldn't figure out what the hell to do for the longest time. And we kept coming back to, we used to love doing radio. And
internet radio.
Yeah, internet radio. And everybody kept saying, oh, well, to me, I have like a great sex talk voice, and Mike has a radio voice. Like, well, thanks. And so we kept thinking, and then it was like, you know what? I see people talking about, you know, what's going on and being disabled and being LGBTQ, and we have family members that are like that. And I'm a part of that as well. And we're just like, you know what? Let's say something. Let's do something. And that's kind of how this was born, is we wanted to, you know, share the stories. And, you know, I don't really want to be famous. Like, I used to think I wanted to when I was younger. I'd be like, oh, so cool, you know, having paparazzi and getting to sign autographs. And then it's like I got older and I realized, no, I don't want that. But I want to raise other places' voices. And
yeah, I get that for sure. Yep.
And I want to also say that you and your husband, like, I have listened to some of your episodes, and it is great.
Yeah.
And I do love your banter. It is truly, like, there have been times when I heard it and I cried. I was laughing so hard. And because it felt like coming home kind of thing.
A lot of it's very relatable, and it feels... Yeah, like coming home feels natural, I guess. I don't know what the word is.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, it is when you know, there are so many, well, when we started, especially in 2018, there were, you know, I had been looking for something like it when we were going through stuff, and, you know, everything was like self-help or religious or, you know, 7 steps to this or... And I was like, why is nobody just saying that this is so fucking hard? And like, you know, and why is that so difficult for people to admit? I mean, we never, you know, we learned all kinds of crazy stuff in school, but like never how to have a relationship and never how to talk through an argument and never how to, none of that.
No.
And so, you know, of course it's messy, and of course we don't know what we're doing. And so to us, it was sort of like, well, duh. But at the same time, we were also petrified, you know, that we were going to put stuff out there because people are so judgmental.
Yep.
And I think that from the beginning, we were kind of waiting for, like, you know, for for people to all of a sudden be like, oh my God, I can't listen to this is terrible for my marriage. You know, here we are, they're fighting all the time and everything. And it happened once in a while, but mostly it was people saying, oh my God, I've never heard anybody else say that. And to me, that is sort of what it's all about, right? Is to create a space where it's like, okay, yeah, the more of us, not only can the more of us who say that it's hard, does it make it easier for us, but it also exposes the system.
Yes.
And is sort of like, you know, we're in a position where a lot of us are struggling so much, not because it's our fault, but because it's the system's fault.
Right.
Yes.
And, you know, and the more people who realize that, the more people you're going to get to call it out and hopefully make some changes. And, you know, and so that's in there too.
And I do want to say thank you again for that, because it is nice to hear that, you know, you don't have all of those books that you mentioned are like self-help and how to be this or how to be that, and 7 steps to, you know, waking up early in the morning and being a great wife or husband. And it's never about the messiness. And hearing other people have messy makes it much better in a marriage, I think, because then you realize, oh, it's not supposed to be perfect. It's not supposed to be leave it to Beaver. And, you know, those types of things. And that it's okay that sometimes you're going to argue. You're going to have different views on, you know, the same subjects. And how boring would it be if you had the exact same thought process all the time.
That was actually something I had to learn, that relationships aren't that great. Like, as far as, I mean, they're great. That's not what I meant. That they're not all perfect roses and sunshine. There's arguments and fights. Growing up, my parents didn't have many fights and arguments, at least not in front of me. So I never quite saw that side of it until I got married. And it was...
So did it seem, it's so interesting because I'm always so curious too, like, if they weren't fighting and stuff, like, did it seem to you in your mind like they had this really great love story, or did it seem to you like they just weren't that connected, and so like they didn't fight, but they also weren't that, like, they didn't have like these passionate feelings about each other either?
That's a good question. I'm going to kind of say the latter. Like, I knew they loved each other, but yeah, there wasn't really that real passion there. It was seeking for the status, I guess you could say, and just trying to be perfect.
Like two ships passing in the night type of cliche.
Showing that they're the American dream. They're living the American dream. Two kids, fenced-in yard, that sort of deal.
And that's always such an interesting thing to me, is like when people say, you know, at a funeral or whatever, you know, like, oh, they never fought in, 50 years of being married. And I'm sort of like, well, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does. Like,
like, why is that the ultimate goal? Like, what does that say? Okay, so were you talking? Were you, like, being truthful with each other? Were you, what was going on there that there was no fighting? That to me either just seems like there was some real submissive behavior, or you're both just boring as shit.
Exactly. Like, I can't imagine, no offense, Mike, but I can't imagine always bowing down and saying yes to everything and not having an opinion. And I think that's the other issue, is that a lot of people thought you weren't allowed to have an opinion, especially us women, where, you gotta just capitulate and do whatever the husband wants because, he's the quote-unquote breadwinner. And, we're supposed to just be happy that we have a husband. And, that's that's your goal.
We were chosen.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, God, I was chosen. Ooh.
Exactly.
And, no offense to our husbands. I love them to pieces. Not all of, I don't have... Okay, let me just rephrase that. I love you. I do not have a polygamous relationship. But it's just, I couldn't stand to not be me. And, especially the more that I discover who I am, the more I really couldn't not be me. And I hate the fact that, not that it was explicitly told by my mother or something like that, but just watching people and reading books and seeing society just constantly say women are supposed to be the submissive, quiet, docile type people, and oh yes dear, oh no dear, and father's supposed to be this big disciplinarian that everybody respects. Why can't it be the other way around sometimes?
I think it was in my house. I was way more afraid of my mom than I was of my dad.
Oh yeah. I love you, Mom, but yeah, she would admit.
She knows it.
She knows that I was terrified of my mother growing up. I mean, she's short like I am, and that woman could grow 10 sizes when she was mad at me.
Yeah.
So with your advocacy for everything going into the podcast and with what you do and say on the podcast, is that something that you were looking to get out? I mean, I know you were kind of saying you were looking for excitement from being stay-at-home mom, but was your advocacy something you were really seeking to get out there, or did that kind of flow with the creation of the podcast as it went along?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think we were all, it's also interesting to me because, for the people who had listened to us since the beginning, after the first time we started was 2018. Obviously, Trump was in office already, and, I was struggling already with the whole thing. My kids were younger. My daughter was still younger. She was, I guess, still in middle school. And and she had come out, but it wasn't, I wasn't ready to make it a real conversation publicly. She was still too young to really get her full consent to talk about it and everything. However, I was, people did know that I had, I did mention it. And I would post about it online and everything. And we would talk about, I always talked a lot about my mental illness and, that kind of stuff. So politically, I wasn't so much speaking out against Trump at that point, like directly. I mean, I was in my personal life, but not quite on the podcast yet. But yet, I think to myself, when there would be school shootings, I would post about gun legislation, and people knew that I was, I had been to Washington to march for gun rights, for gun legislation, and I had done a lot with LGBTQ rights and everything. And then when Trump won, and after the election, and when I was in full, like, I thought I was going to have a breakdown. I had no choice. I could not for a second pretend like my entire life didn't feel like it had just done a 180, because I knew that I was not going to stay quiet, and I knew that I was going to fight whatever that looked like. I at one time turned to Adam and I said, look, you don't have to fight with me, but you can't keep me from doing it. And I think that my dog is going crazy. I think that there were, we had a mass exodus from the podcast after, and I, and on social media, I think I lost like 50,000 people. Wow. And my thought was, wait a minute, you've been listening to us all this time, and there was an ounce in your mind that thought maybe she's a Trump supporter?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. And, the more that it would happen, people would say to me, because I would say, look, I have a gay daughter, and, and I have, my best friend has a trans daughter, and, I have all of these people. I want to protect everybody, but it also hits very close to home. And people would say, oh, so what's the difference? Like, what does that mean? They're not going to lose their rights, or that. Now, so I honestly believe that some of these people truly think that they still are these, they're still these accepting, embracing people. They don't like everything Trump does, but yet they like the majority of what he, so in their minds, like, you can vote for him and still be all of these things. And so, what ended up happening was me, especially towards the beginning. Now I don't even bother, but towards the beginning, it was sort of like, no, we're not having this conversation. Like, you are not, for women's rights, you do not get to do that.
Right.
And so, and that even enraged them more, obviously, because I was calling them out on what their backup plan was, which is, I can still be all these things. And so that kind of, once the election happened, it was sort of like, how am I, like, I don't know, do people give a shit about me, like, Amazon fines? I don't think so. Do people, like, it still feels to me, I don't want to say silly to speak about other things, but to make it as if there's the weight behind it right now that there used to be. I have a lot of friends on social media, especially still, posting their regular old stuff, haven't once mentioned everything. And I just want to say to them, how, I don't know. But I would imagine at some point people are going to be like, this is irrelevant, like, enough, you need to take a stand, or you need to just admit that you voted for him.
Right. And
yeah.
I thank you for that, because it was disheartening when he won, and I was terrified for my family, because there's LGBTQ, there's disabled, and then on top of that, we're of color, so it's just like and we're female, a lot of us. So it's just like, bazillion whammy of we're quote unquote undesirables. And it hurt thinking that people could honestly sit there and say, yeah, I want to have Trump in office, even though he is obviously, racist and sexist and all of those things, and then turn around and be like, you should be okay. You're fine. Nobody's losing anything. And it's just, you can't dispel somebody's fears that way. You can't make them feel better. And even if it, let's just say for shits and giggles, it was true that we weren't going to lose anything. But you can't tell people, oh, you're not going to lose anything. You'll be fine. It's just, it kind of feels like a slap in the face. And then the fact that we are actually losing rights is even worse. So it's just like, just tell us you like Trump or you don't.
Yeah.
And, where do you stand so everybody can know, are we safe with you?
That's right. I think every single Trump supporter should have to wear a MAGA hat. I think it should be a requirement. I want to know, and and you saw, it's so funny because you say, and I totally agree with you about the, even if let's say it was going to be okay, the thing that gets me is, I say to people, I was very, very young when he took out the front pages of the the big newspapers and went against the Central Park Five and everything. I remember being so young. I remember at that point being like, he is one motherfucker. Like, he is awful. And and that's not something you can deny. He did that. I mean, people will say, oh, well, people thought that they were guilty and this and that, and it was a different time, or I don't care. He's never apologized for it. He's never, and then he mocked a disabled reporter, or, and he, all of those things. So people can say, well, you're not going to lose your rights. Okay, but you're still voting according to stuff that has already happened.
Right.
And so, so it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. And it's not to say that you can't be more conservative and still be an ally or a friend or something like that. But if you voted for him, that's the difference, because it becomes moralistic at that point. You can't morally say, I love you, and then turn behind my back and vote away my right to live.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and we've lost family over that. I mean, not lost family. We've, we put our foot down and said no more. But I'm very much of the idea that I don't think, if God forbid something happened, what makes me think you won't throw me under the bus? You're not going to throw my kids under the bus. Right. I don't trust you.
Right.
So,
and that's the biggest thing that just killed me when he first won this time, was just, it was awful when he won back in 2016. And I felt like, as a person of color, that, wow, America really hates me. It's kind of how it felt.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
This time it kind of felt like that. But I have to admit that seeing you made me realize that I wasn't alone. And honestly, I've said this before, but I was going down a horrible, horrible hole. Yep. And because of my fears for my children, myself, the rest of my family, and what does this mean for all of us? And I didn't know how to voice it without being angry. And it's not to say that I'm not allowed to be angry about it. It is, but it's just the way I was voicing it just wasn't coming out clear. And then finding you and various other people online and made me feel like I wasn't alone, that I wasn't in this alone, and that people do actually care, was like night and day for me.
Yeah. And I think it goes a step further, if you don't mind me saying. As part of the 45% of white women who voted against him, and the 55. Although who the fuck, we don't even know what the real numbers are now.
Right.
We know who the hell even knows, right? Like, if that ever comes out, we don't know. But to me, I think it even goes beyond that. I think one of the first videos I made after the election, because my mind was so blown, was that the 92% of black women who voted against him, and everybody was just sort of like, yeah, we don't believe you. You know, and in my mind, I was sort of like, wait a minute, this is the population who, if you're going to believe anybody who knows what it's like and who has fought every single battle for, 200 years, no battle that they asked to fight. And that's who you listen to. And so to me, it was sort of like, what people would say like, oh, why you're so against white people or whatever. And I was sort of like, well, number one, yes. And number two, like, how you're going to listen to the people who are like, no, we've been here before. We know what this is. We know where we're headed. We have that, we live in that trauma.
Yeah.
And so if anybody's going to give us a forewarning, it's not going to be middle-class white women. So, it just, to me, is when the alarm bells are ringing by the people who have been through it, you drop everything and you're like, I'm following them.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I saw that video, and that's kind of what made me, like, be able to breathe, I guess you could say, and not feel like it was just me against the world. And I thank you so much for that, because just you kind of brought my brain back and everything, and made me feel so much better. And Mike can attest to this, that like finding my tribe, I guess you could say, of other warriors that are, there, and having similar thought processes and similar this isn't right feelings just opened up so much for me. And I can't thank you all enough. Like, I really can't. Because, it saved my marriage. It saved, I'm sure, my kids in a way. And not to get, heavy and mushy, because I hate that too. But I can't help but thank you.
Sheila's a real pain in the ass.
Listen, I think we all have, since the election, had our, it's the people who aren't the pains in the ass right now that I'm sort of like, I want to wake up one day and know what that feels like.
Yes.
Like, just to wake up, you know what I mean? Like, I think that sometimes in the morning when I get up, I'm like, I just want one day where I'm like, oh, everything's fine. And like I could just like live and not be all consumed by it. But look, but like I always say, it's also just, unfortunately, it's a testament to the fact that you're just a good person and you care,
Yep.
So, but you are not alone. And I think one thing that this has shown me, when I lost all those followers and everything, and it was fine, like that, please, I don't need you leaving terrible comments on my feed anyway, and I'm sure you've seen the amount of comments and everything. But what it also showed me, was that people found me also.
Yes.
And that was a process, but it was also sort of like every single new person that found me, I was sort of like, this feels better. This is what it's about anyway. Like, what do I don't need you to be watching my videos and like laughing at me when I'm funny and then telling me I'm not when I'm not making funny videos. Like, that's, who needs that?
Right.
Like, I'm not your court jester, and I'm not your, your puppet. Like, I'm not here to just entertain you. This is real.
Yeah.
Right.
And people forget that, I think, with content creators. They're sort of like, oh, you're just, what are you doing? You're a marriage account. You're not an, no, actually I'm a person.
Exactly.
I'm not an account. I'm a person.
There's a lot of things that I think people forget, that we're humans behind these, and that we have feelings and thoughts, and that we're not just automatrons from Disney, small world after all, kind of thing. And we're not doing those things, and we're not saying these things necessarily to hurt people, but to make people understand that we're here to be here for you. And that, let's all find our people, so that we, as things hopefully don't get too much worse, but I'm afraid they might, we can, have each other's backs and protect each other and survive this together. Because, the biggest thing is always finding your people, whether or not it's the same color, same religion, same, sex. That's not it. Sometimes your people are a variety of colors,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's better that way.
It is, because you get different perspectives from, different people. Like, for instance, I'm going to admit something weird, but I have always loved red hair and Jewish people. And it turns out it's because, I have a lot of family members that were redheads, and I have Jewish family members. We discovered this much later. And it's also, my ancestry is Jewish. And so I was kind of, pulling that unconsciously, I guess. I hope that's what I'd like to say, because it makes it sound less creepy or stalkerish. But I always just felt right with Jewish people, and I think part of it could be I understood the horrors that they went through in history as similar horrors of my black ancestry as well, and just for thousands of years, just always being put upon and making it through, both, black people and Jewish people being able to find a way to come together and make it through those horrors. And that's kind of also, why I wanted to start this, because I wanted to create that sense of we're going to come together and get through this.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think that we need those spaces now more than ever. We really do. We need those spaces for people to be able to, say, no, I feel it too. Because, even though I have people in my life, in my real life, who are against Trump and everything, they aren't as passionate as I am. And so even if they voted the same way, it still feels very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
It still feels very no, I don't think you get it. I don't think you're not really oh, you're on a week-long vacation in Hawaii. No, you don't get it. You're definitely, there's something missing. This is not the time. Mm-hmm. So, no, not against look, people can vacation or whatever, but, that's sort of the standard of their everyday is that they're, and I'm sort of you don't get it. So,
and it kind of, it's angering sometimes when you see people who you're hoping will say something, anything, and all they're just oh, look, I've got a new swimsuit in Bahamas. And you're just well, okay, for one, what the fuck? I want that money. Two.
Yeah.
And, number two, what about showing that you're in this with us?
Yeah.
And because, you don't want to come off as elitist. And it's not to say that you can't enjoy a Bahamas vacation, because we have to have joy. We have to have laughter. You can't survive without it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, read the room.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I feel that way about a lot of celebrities right now too. Come on, you don't let's where are you? Why are you, Yeah, and you were very excited about Kamala when Beyonce was singing for her, and then now all of a sudden it's where'd you go?
Right.
Where are you?
Or some of them saying, well, we're going to move. Okay, great. What about the rest of us?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yep. So true.
Which is, and it's not to say if you can, don't do it if you can, but don't sit there and advertise, hey, I get to leave while you get to be stuck here.
Right. Like the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was oh, we're all in it together, and they're in their 17,000 foot, mansion with 4 pools and a bowling alley, and we're sort of no, we're not.
Yeah. Yeah, you can separate. I'm stuck with my family here. Do you understand the difference? I have children at home. Your children are 17,000 feet away from you.
Exactly.
Even though you're in the same house, so don't tell me we're in this together.
Exactly.
And it's just, so it kind of, I also felt like if they can't understand that not all of us have 17,000 square foot palaces to relax in, or have the money and means to go buy a passport for another country or whatever they can do, well, what can I do? And then it's like I started thinking about that, and I realized, well, Nelson Mandela was one person. Gandhi was one person. And, you know, all of these people, Dolly Parton is one person. And these people find a way to do something. And they've changed so many things.
Yeah.
And I figure, so then I can do that too, as hard as it is, and as terrifying as it is. Because, I mean, it could be the perfectest regime ever. And, you know, happy utopia, and little birds are always singing and chirping on our shoulders. Not the poop, though. I hate the poop. But and it would still, you know, be a calling type of thing to have to say something, to make sure that we're all, you know, surviving through all of this. And it kind of, I'm sorry that it took me so long to figure it out. And, you know, I thought it was supposed to be medical school and, you know, lawyer and, you know, arguing for people or treating them that way. And it actually dawned on me, like, well, again, you know, all of those people that I mentioned and Martin Luther King Jr., they use their voice.
Yeah.
So why don't I raise other people's voices? And
That's right.
so, like, where am I going with this?
We always wonder that.
Shut up, Mike.
No, it is. It's that quote, you know, that you know, well, I'm just one person, says 8 billion people. You know, like, you know, it's if everybody said that, where would we be?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And, you know, I admit I'm not an egomaniac. Like some people, you have to be in order to do it. But I want a community. And if I have to make it myself, then I'll have to make it myself. And I think, you know...
I think another big part of it was when you were talking about it and how you wanted to make all these changes and do all this stuff. Not specifically a podcast, just make changes and make it feel safer. I was kind of saying, it's just you, though. We don't really make a big difference in the grand scheme of things, just sitting in our car talking about it.
Right.
We're not making a difference because we're not doing anything. There's nothing we can do. We don't have the power to do anything. And so I think from there, it kind of escalated into, well, then let's do something that puts us out there more.
Yeah, because you pissed me off. So it like, and I work best when I'm mad for some reason. I don't know why, but
I get that. You need that fire under your ass.
Yes. And he said that, and I'm just like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm finding a way. And so like, that's kind of where this came from. And like, not saying anything, just, I felt like I couldn't live with myself if I never said anything.
That's what I say. I say I want my grandkids one day to look at me when they say, "What did you do?" You know, I'm going to look up. I can't wait till some other people's grandkids ask them.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, you know, it didn't seem like that big a deal." You know? And we're going to be able to say, "Oh, yeah, no, we showed up. We showed up."
And I want my kids to tell their kids or their grandkids, yeah, grandma wouldn't shut up.
Yep.
I want that. And and
yeah, I did a meme about that went viral.
Yes.
Maybe I should repost that.
Yes. I saw that. I loved it. And
I don't even remember when that just clicked. Sometimes, you know, I forget. I'm like, oh wait, I'm like, that sounds so familiar. And I'm like, I think I did a meme kind of like that. I should repost that.
Yes, and with Pedro Pascal, please.
Yeah. Exactly.
No offense, Mike, but Pedro Pascal.
I've heard.
No man could be upset about that.
I've heard.
That's a given. He's on the permanent laminated list.
Yes. And then, like, him and Idris Elba, who's also out there fighting for...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. Can they... I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was just like, can they get any fucking hotter?
Yeah, I agree. Agreed. Yeah.
If I could be, like, their assistant...
Sure, assistant.
Exactly, the special assistant.
The intern?
Sure, I'll be that naughty intern.
Yep.
And, I joke about that, but seriously, like, that's what I want for all of us, to be able to have that ability to share those thoughts and feelings, make us laugh, and then what?
I thought you were going to say have the ability to be his assistant.
No, I don't want to share that. I'll share it with Danielle. But otherwise, no. Everybody else has got to wait in line, after I'm dead. Then they can be their assistants. And
yes, I agree with you. Yeah. No, I mean, I do. I think that, this is right now is the moment that this is all that matters.
Yeah.
This is all that. And look, I don't want to say, my youngest is still, he went to camp this summer, and, my middle, he's still playing baseball and everything. Look, they lived through the pandemic. They're living through this, they a little bit, they got to live.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But also, I think it's also, a lesson in, you can't look the other way also.
Yes.
And we need to teach them their part in all of it too, because it'll happen again. We all thought it couldn't happen again, and it's happening again.
And I like telling my kids, the sex stuff and going into details just to embarrass them. And then after I got them, oh my God, Mom, stop. Once I get to that point, then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to, land the plane with telling them your privilege is that you are able to do things that other people can't.
Mm-hmm.
And is it right? No. But unfortunately, because we live in a society where shade of your skin color matters more than what you can or cannot do. Mm-hmm. And so, I like to tell them about that. And ad nauseum, actually, because I want them to understand that I have privileges, so I'm going to use my privileges to help other people. You have the moral, obligatory duty to also use your privileges for good. Mm-hmm. So that we can stop this ridiculous shit of, well, you're darker than me, so you're not worthy. Or you don't have blue eyes, you're not worthy. Or something ridiculous that we cannot help. It's not it's not like, anybody goes and says, make sure I am so marginalized that even the marginalized are like, oh, no.
Right. I know. It's a lot.
Yeah. And just, so I like telling my kids those things. And I think that they got the memo, and, it's kind of hard with kids because our sons are teenagers, and teenagers are, teenagers.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, mine hear it too. We know, Mom. We know. We heard you. We know. You said, don't have to say it again. We know.
Yep. I mean, I used to have to thud my children in the head just to get them to recognize that I was leaving the house. So I'm leaving.
But that's good. That means they're well adjusted.
And I hope so. I tried very hard to make sure that, they're good kids. And
I'm sure they are. I don't have any doubts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where do you guys live? Where are you from?
We're in Pennsylvania.
We do need to start wrapping it up here.
I like talking to her.
I agree. But the hour is running out.
Yes, the hour is nigh.
Mm-hmm. But before we go, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk about some of the stuff you do. We've really only touched on your podcast and a little bit on your social media. I know you have a book out there and you do quite a few other things, so you want to let people know how to find you?
Yeah, it's, some of it has kind of changed since January. I was planning on publishing another book, but, it was about stuff that to me now seems a little bit irrelevant at the time. So I've kind of put that on pause. I did start a membership community that I'm so lucky that Dory's a part of, and is just like, she's just a wonderful addition to it. And again, I just did that because I just felt like women needed a space to just come together and know that everybody kind of feels the same way. And just sort of started that a few months ago, so still kind of trying to grow it and everything, but that has been great, and I've really enjoyed it. It's called the 3 a.m. Uprising. And then we just besides that, right now I'm really just trying to focus on the advocacy part of everything, and not focus on the stuff that I'm losing. I don't want to say losing out on, but the brand deals and all the stuff that I was doing before. Just now is not the time that people don't want to work with somebody who's speaking out so much about politics and everything. I'll deal with that later.
It's their loss, because I think that reaching out to you and showing that they care about us more than their bottom line. I know. But if you're listening, companies, you need to show that you care, because guess who pays your bottom line?
Yeah.
Well, there goes our chances.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, I also, again, I haven't done much, I haven't sought out really many, because right now I just don't have the bandwidth or the energy for it. And I'm hoping that there will come a time when I can go back. Everyone's always like, oh, you used to be so funny. Yes, I want to be funny again. Trust me. I desperately want to be funny again. Like, this was not, yes, it was a choice, but it was also like not a choice. So, so people don't understand, like, no, we didn't just like choose to, this was it. This was the thing. You have to. So, yeah. But, and just, raising my kids and just busy life.
Life gets in the way.
Again, thank you for that 3 a.m. uprising. It is amazing, and I hope that more people join, because it is just fun to talk to like-minded women and feel like we can all just kind of vent at each other.
Yes.
And it's not to exclude you men, but it is. But it's nice, because I feel like finding other women that are like that is so cathartic.
Agreed.
And, we can just be like, oh my God, fight the patriarchy and all of that stuff. And it's not against men, because men are also disadvantaged from the patriarchy. And, so books and getting to talk to different people and getting to see, different memes and things like that just are relevant or funny or, just helpful in every way, shape, or form that you can imagine is there at 3 a.m. And I take $5 bills. No, I'm kidding.
No, I love having you there, and it really, honestly, thank you. And thank you both for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. We
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate you coming on.
It's been an honor to have you here.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Please leave a rating for us wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Othering Podcast is brought to you by Loudcore Productions in conjunction with your support. Your host, Mike and Dory Morris, graphics by Joshua Morris, and join us next week on the Othering Podcast.